Today we're going to talk about a very help senior citizens in Dade County. And we have invited the director, Myers, I call it senior crime. We have invited someone today, social worker, involved in this sort of activity for many years in Dade County. Lori, would you tell us what are, in general, some of the activities that the Senior Crime Watch do here to help the senior citizens?
Sure. First of all, our program, the Senior Crime Watch and Victims Assistance Program, operates through Jewish Family Service. And it started about 8 years ago. It was set up primarily to aid the elderly, assist them in recovering from being victims of crime. And there's 3 ways that we do that. The first one is we help them, we provide them with the actual hardware, security on their homes. In other words, a lot of them who are victimized are done so because they don't have the proper locks on their doors, they don't have protective screening on their windows, their homes are not secured properly, and especially after a break-in, they need somebody. A lot of them cannot afford to lock up their home again, so we help them with that. Another thing that we do is our social worker, Aggie, who's here with us today, is 20 years of experience. She's bilingual, and she goes out to their homes. She goes to visit them after they've been very traumatized by what happens to them. The elderly need a lot of reinforcement. They need somebody to be with them, and sometimes this is ongoing for months and months. So Aggie provides that. She knows how to refer them to the proper channels, how to really get them back on their feet.
Is this a program that is in effect all over Dade County or just in specific areas?
It's all over Dade County, and it's available to any elderly victim of crime who's over 60 who fits our income guidelines. And the last thing that we do is we provide prevention, education for them. It's very important, hopefully, before a lot of them become victims, that they know how not to be prime targets. And we take Officer Little and we take other police officers into senior centers with us, and we teach them how not to be prime targets. We talk to them about things that they may not know. They may not have anybody else to tell them, and it becomes a little bit entertaining to them. They enjoy it. We do a 45-minute presentation with a film, and we do demonstrations where we show them exactly how to carry their purse. We tell them not to walk alone at night, and they love it. They receive it very well. And this is the only program of its kind in the state of Florida.
Do you have many employees in the program?
I have 13 employees working with the Senior Crime Watch program. Several of them are employees actually of a program called Senior Aids. Their salary is paid by the National Council of Senior Citizens in Washington, D.C., and that's a big help to me because I'm dealing with senior citizens. Therefore, I have a lot of senior citizens on the phones helping me, which really helps because they can relate. Senior citizens can relate well to their peers. So it's a growing program. We have 5 funding sources locally here in Dade County, and we're looking for new ways to expand the program. The elderly population here in Dade County is growing, and our agency, Jewish Family Service, really sees a need to fill.
There's a tremendous need
Right.
that your agency is filling, I'm sure of that. Officer Little, I know you've been in the Metro Dade Police Department 16 years, and you've been 7 years as a community service officer performing these kinds of services. You want to tell us briefly, give us a little overview of what it is that you do?
Yes,
in helping the senior citizens?
We go out and meet with not only senior citizens, but with other groups as well, and try to teach them tips and ways of the likelihood of them becoming a crime victim. Things that we can show on how to, as Lori said, how to carry a purse, things like this. And that's really our basic thing. We're aware of what crime is happening in their neighborhood at this time, and because of that, we can come up with ways to combat that problem.
So yours is, let's say, basically an educational and advisory role.
That's correct.
You help them to see where the dangers and the pitfalls are and things like that.
And what measures they can take,
to
counteract them.
To protect themselves.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that is very useful, and a lot of people are grateful to you for what you're doing. Aggie, Loinaz, you've been a social worker for years, so I am sure you have a lot of experiences under your cap. that you
Yes.
can tell us about?
I've been working with the elderly population for a long, long time now. And it has been a great help for me to try to bring these people that have been traumatized by being victim of crime to the normal level of fun and adjustment after the event. And most of what I do is counseling, giving support, helping them to get some community resources that they are available for them that they were not aware before the event, and also um, more or less case management for those people that cannot manage themselves. And
So again,
refer
here
to other, yeah.
you give emotional support, you give professional support, you give advice on different situations.
Yes.
Do you visit the homes actually?
Actually, it's a home visit based on sometime in emergency basis because my client come from or either a police report or by the other social agencies in the community or also by the state attorney's office. And there are some very, very desperate cases that I have seen. And the other one are from our own senior uh, workers that they know when they talk to them on the phone or when they visit their home to do the security installation, they see the situation in the home and then they call me. And then most of my is home visit, assessment, and a continuous counseling when it's needed.
Well, that also seems like a very vital role for a senior
It
citizen.
is important.
Yes.
It is important because they live very, very lonely lives and they need the support as much as
They need the
possible
support.
from the community.
Right. Is this a problem, a crime, people who prey on senior citizens? Is this a big problem in Dade County? Of course, I know that Florida is becoming one of the states where there's the largest number of senior citizens coming to live here because it's warm, they like it, it's a nice place to be, a nice pleasant vacation. But are there people out there who are abusing these senior citizens?
Definitely. And probably Officer Little could give you some more details on exactly how big the problem is. What I can tell you as the director of the program is that there are a lot of people, as Aggie said, in the Miami area who are alone, who have no relatives, who have no friends, and when something as traumatic as a break-in happens to them, they are just very set back, and sometimes they never recover. In other cases, it takes them years. So I find that when the people call me to thank me for what we've done or send me thank you letters, in many cases, they're so thankful because we are there and they don't have anybody else. And that's where I think we provide a gap in service that nobody else is filling. So I'm fortunate to work for a program like this, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. I'm hoping that we can soon help even more people than we do now.
Are there any statistics about how many senior citizens are attacked or victimized? Does anybody compile things like this?
Yes, they do. The thing that we have to remind people of, that as a group, senior citizens are the least likely victims. However, the impact is far greater on a senior citizen than it is on a young person. For example, on a purse snatching. If someone comes up and takes my wallet or my purse, yes, there's a chance that I may be injured. But when you're 75 or 80 years old and you're knocked to the ground, the chances of that injury are far greater. And the impact is far greater. So they may not be as often a victim, but when they are a victim, the impact, both emotionally, physically, and monetarily, is far greater than it would be for someone that's younger.
Are there specific types of crimes that are typical of the elderly? I know purse snatching is probably one of them, because if you are a thief and you're strong and you can move fast, I imagine it is a lot easier target to push someone who's 65 years old and take her purse than to do this to a young man or a young woman who might scream and run after you.
Yes, it is. And one of the primary problems that we have, along with the same problems that everyone else has, burglary, the purse snatches, is the confidence games where they will try to sell them something, home improvements, things like this, the con games, where they take advantage of they're very trusting. They were raised in an area when you could be more trusting. So these are the biggest impact, when someone's life savings are completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they had worked their whole life to build a little nest egg, and the nest egg can be gone in a matter of minutes. So this is probably a greater problem to the senior citizen that the other population doesn't face quite as readily.
What are some of the different kinds of things that you do, for example, specifically, if a person has their purse snatched and they're knocked to the ground, is that a traumatizing event for a senior citizen?
Yes, it is. Every event that affects an elderly is traumatizing for them usually, and some last longer, and depending upon the effect, the support when they have family, when it's different in each case.
Probably,
yes.
If you are completely alone, it might probably have more
effect.
effect.
And then the elderlies are very, very predictable. They get the check one day a month. They usually like to be there early. I don't know why. When they street at the searcher, they go out the same day. They try to pay the rent. Everything is very predictable on them, and then this that makes them an easy target.
Let's say senior citizens like to go to eat at the same time, and they like to go deposit the check maybe the same day,
go the same day
month.
to do the grocery. Everything is.
So if somebody is watching them,
sure,
they are easy to follow and to predict, right, what they're going to do. So that makes it easier to attack, perhaps, or
to take the check. They know when the check comes in the bank, it's the third of the month for the one that they are retired, or the first of the month on the SSI, and they usually follow them. And then this is one of the problems.
Do you see cases coming up of senior citizens who, when they receive their check,
they are wiped out,
and are going to the bank, somebody will steal it?
Yes.
Does that happen often?
Very often. Very often.
Yes, it does. And it's not just so much in dealing with the senior citizens. We learn an awful lot from senior citizens. A lot of the crime prevention techniques that I teach, I have learned from other senior citizens.
Right.
Mother is the necessity of invention. They have learned ways to protect themselves, and we try to get them to share these ways. One elderly gentleman, you're talking about the Social Security check, was robbed shortly after cashing his check. And I was really upset because I knew that this was all the money that he would have for the month. And in speaking with him and getting the information necessary for the report, I finally asked him, well, how much money did they exactly take? And he said, oh, they didn't get any money at all. And I said, well, they took your wallet at gunpoint. He said, well, I carry 2 wallets. The wallet I gave to him was the empty wallet. The wallet with the money's in the other pocket. Now, he had learned...
Oh, that is a very sharp little trick.
That's right. And
so he carries 2 wallets.
He carried 2 wallets. In case he was robbed, he gave the wallet with no money to the bad guy, and he kept his money.
Then, of course, we must assume that the thief, when he grabs the wallet, he doesn't stop to look at it. He runs with it.
That's right. He runs with it. So these kinds of things, and we learn all sorts of little tricks. Because they have been around, they've got an awful lot of experience, they've learned little ways to stop being a victim.
Little tricks that, if they're shared with others, can avoid the traumatizing effect of finding yourself without a penny for the rest of the month. Laurie, I see in one of the pamphlets that you gave me that it says, lock out crime. How can you lock out crime?
Well, that's just a slogan that we came up with to show.
But it has a meaning in practice, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, really, that applies to the installations that we do. When I was speaking earlier about the installation, what we do is we provide free deadbolt door locks, door viewers, and protective screening on the windows of the elderly who cannot afford to protect themselves.
What is the difference between a deadbolt security lock and just a regular lock? Is there a difference?
Yes, there is. A deadbolt is an awful lot more difficult to penetrate. A normal key in the knob type lock is really not a security device per se. It's more a privacy device, and they're very easy to be defeated. A deadbolt lock is a security device which adds an awful lot.
In other words, it cannot be opened with a credit card,
No,
for
no,
example,
it
or
will
with a
not open with a credit
screwdriver.
card. No, it's very difficult to open with a screwdriver as well.
So what do? You help people who live in homes alone, and you install, let's say, a deadbolt. And I know many people who live in homes in Florida used to have jalousie windows.
Right.
Well, I happen to know that jalousie windows you can just pull them out,
right.
and walk right in.
Right.
So that really isn't very secure.
Right. No, it isn't. A combination of the services which we've discussed today are really the only way that we're going to lock out crime. The only way that we're going to let a senior citizen feel more secure again. Because a lot of times, if a senior citizen's home is burglarized, their eyeglasses are taken, their hearing aid is taken, these are things that somebody else cannot use. But this elderly person needs to survive.
Why would a thief take a hearing aid? Is this just
it happens.
Evil intent?
It happens several times.
Is there a market out there for hearing aids?
I don't know, because when one of my clients her hearing aid was taken, and then the man that did this in collaboration with Jewish Family Services, we provide a new hearing aid. He told me that they couldn't ever use it for somebody else because it's done to the ear of the client. And I don't know why is the purpose to leave this little old lady that was vital for her.
Yes, those of us who don't have that problem, it
And
doesn't really
glasses,
seem important, but somebody who can't
cataract
hear,
glasses, heavy
a hearing
glasses,
aid may mean the difference between life and death almost.
That's right. For her it was.
The elderly are so afraid after something like that happens. We have victims who call us and say that they're sleeping at friends' homes or relatives' homes. They're afraid to go back there. And until their home feels really safe to them, they will not recover. It will just draw out the process. So that's why we provide the education, we provide the installation, and then we provide the therapy.
So you put the metal screens over the jalousie windows.
Correct.
That means that if somebody tries to get in through that window, they're going to have to break through a tough metal screen, right?
Right, which is pretty much impossible.
Pretty much impossible. And I notice the pamphlet also says door viewers.
Right.
That doesn't seem very important, but I think it really is, isn't it?
This allows the person that's in the house to see who's at the door before they open the door. That they're aware of who they're opening the door on.
Because, for example, if a senior citizen is there and somebody knocks on the door and says, I have a delivery for you from Burdines, and who knows, it may be a gorilla on the other side with a shotgun.
That's true, and the only thing that they can do is then open the door. Once the door's open, it's very easy to push their way past. They're lost. So with the door viewer or the peephole, this allows them to see who's at the door before they open it, before they become vulnerable.
So that's really a very practical help for these people.
Right. Our program helps about 4,000 people annually.
About 4,000 annually? That's impressive.
Between the calls that we make, the house visits, home hospital visits, which Aggie does, we have other offices throughout the county where we have employees of our program, the installations, the prevention programs. So a combination of these services, we help over 4,000 people.
Now, doing these things, it can be expensive, because I remember when I had somebody install a peephole and a security deadbolt in my house, for coming to my house and doing this, just that alone, they charged me like $50 or $60. That did not include the cost of the deadbolt. So if you're not well off economically, that you may end up spending $100 just to put something on your door. That doesn't count what it would cost to put up a screen. And from what I gather from what you say, that this is a service that is done
free
at no cost to the senior citizens.
Correct.
Who pays for this?
Well, we have some various municipalities, Dade County, City of Miami, the City of Miami Beach, who help us out. And we would like to get some donations from some of the hardware stores so that we can provide more service for more people. Because like you said, some of these costs are fairly high, and we're limited in the number of people that we can actually serve. So we'd like to help all the people who need it. We have waiting lists at our office of victims who need our
People
service.
who have been victimized
Right.
already,
Right.
who are
Need our
waiting to
service.
have a door
Right.
and a
Because we
peephole installed.
we receive a budget, an annual budget, and we're allowed to help a maximum number, which are given to us in our budget.
Well, that certainly seems like a tremendous contribution. Officer Little, can you give me some specific examples? We've talked about purse snatching. What would be an example, let's say, of a confidence type of crime?
Some of the popular ones are they'll get a phone call from a bank examiner, and I need your assistance. We think that there's a dishonest employee at a bank, and we would like you to go withdraw your money to see if these people are mixing funds, and then we'll redeposit your money for you. So someone will go and withdraw their entire life savings.
Right.
They think that they're helping the police or the federal authorities.
I see, they feel important.
They feel
Maybe they're
important. They
helping to
feel
catch a criminal.
a need to assist, because so many times, especially as you get older, you feel sort of useless. So they think they're really doing something good. They assist the authorities, and really what happens is they end up losing all their money.
So they give that money to somebody in the bank who they think may be a federal officer
Yes.
or a bank vice president. And,
That's true.
And what do? They say, we'll be back in 5 minutes, wait for us here
yeah,
in
we'll
the
go,
lobby.
yeah, we'll go redeposit the money,
And
and
when they turn around,
they're gone.
the person is gone and they've lost their life savings.
They've lost everything.
I can imagine that that can be a devastating blow to
It is
someone who
devastating.
at that time has no important source of income.
Well, it's not just the fact that they have no source of income and no way of replacing that lost money, but the mental anguish that they suffer is far greater. This really can almost lead to their death.
That's right.
What can we do about mental anguish, since
Well,
you counsel many of these people?
I
Is there a way
happen
to
that I have-
remedy this?
Actually, no. It's depending upon the how the strength of the person that has been victimized. I happen to have 3 different clients that they were victims of this maneuver, and one of them was a very, very strong businesswoman with a very good head on her shoulder, and she realized when she was in the car that this was a fraud, but she was afraid for her life. And then all along she went with them because it was a matter of saving her life. And then, like he said, she took
She was afraid to
part of
back
the
out.
money. She didn't take it all. She took part of the money, even though when they have. And then she said, with this money, you would have enough. And then they left it alone there. And she was able to identify the assailants that they were with her. But the other lady that I had, she suffered a stroke, and then the mental anguish, not only the loss of the money, she felt stupid, guilty. She went through a lot of emotional stress, and by the end she had a stroke. And then you approach differently with each person, or either you apply to religious beliefs that they have. You have to apply to something that appeals to them to help
You use
them to
different
go
techniques
through.
to
Yeah.
help them experience relief, to help them overcome the emotion of this sort of thing. I noticed that in the community you also put into effect, we only have just a few minutes left, that we have something that perhaps community activities in which we teach how to reduce the risk of being a victim.
Right.
Is that being done also?
That's being done pretty extensively, and Officer Little is someone who comes with us often to these presentations. And what we do is, with a police officer, we do a 45-minute presentation for a large group of elderly who we hope aren't victims yet of a crime, but we are offering our services to them if they have been a victim. And we show them specifically, demonstrate, like I said before, how to carry their purse. We explain to them not to go to the bank at the same time every month, not to go doing their grocery shopping at the same time, not
You
to
give
carry...
specific advice
Exactly.
covering certain situations
Right.
which you know, let's say, are high risk.
Not to carry a large amount of money with them, and things like that a lot of them don't know. They
Well,
have
you know,
not-
I read the neighbors' Metro-Dade police report, and sometimes I see a senior citizen had her purse snatched in Dadeland, and she had $500 in it.
Right.
Why would somebody be walking around Dadeland with $500 in her purse.
This is a real problem. This is one of the things that we try to stress with them. Don't carry things you don't need to carry. And as bad as the $500 is, for example, many times, especially when you have widows, widowers, they carry something that reminds them of their loved one. And when this is lost...
Maybe like a precious jewel, for example.
Not even precious. It can be really of no value, but it's something that reminds them of this person. And when that's lost, now it just doubles the problem.
It is a catastrophic emotional effect.
So we talk to them about carrying only what you need to carry. And we'll go out with any group and talk to them about this and really share on their experiences.
Well, there are so many things we could say, but we've run out of time. I'm very impressed with this Senior Citizen Crime Watch and the work that all of you are doing.
Thank
So
you.
my congratulations to you. I know that there's a lot of people in this community who are grateful for what you're doing. So thank you for being with us, and soon perhaps we can discuss this in more detail.
Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.